this. Okay, I put too many, I put too many post-it notes on the thing. Hello, William. Thank you so much for joining for me this evening, and you in the morning. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with me tonight. By the way, we are color matching.
Yeah, I know. It's a coincidence.
Yeah. We didn't pre-plan this. So I came across your LinkedIn profile some months ago and was really intrigued by the types of work that you were doing, especially around low coding websites and a lot of workflow and software development. I would love you to introduce you to my audience because your skill set is just phenomenal.
Yeah, so I'm in software development, as you said. Everything we do, the majority of what we do is custom, as well as doing IT consulting to help businesses develop their IT strategy, what software they want to use, what software they need, how to gather the metrics and KPIs they need to track how well they're doing, how well the software is working. And then we also develop that software, whether it's desktop, web, or mobile applications. We also do a lot in the automation space. So developing tools for businesses to automate any work done in Excel, web scraping, web automation. There's really a ton of opportunities for business and automation right now.
Yeah, I think that it's such a good area to be in, especially now there's sort of the new technology era. I think, everyone now is reliant on these types of tools. I guess, where do you learn or where do you find the information? I believe you've got an engineering background, but where would you even begin to learn all of this?
So if you have no programming experience, it's actually, most people learn programming, they're self-taught. They don't actually go to school to learn programming. Now, it's a great route to go and get a computer science degree or get some other kind of engineering degree, but you don't need it to learn programming. Programming is a skill, it takes practice. The easiest way to get started is YouTube. If you want to go on YouTube, search up videos on Python, the programming language, and go through some of people's courses and just learn the syntax, how the language works, how programming works. And then from there, you can start doing your own projects. So if you're interested in automation, and maybe you're interested in automation for work, so you can create an Excel sheet and write some code that automates some things that you might do at work in Excel. That could be your first project. And then from there, you just kind of build your projects bigger and bigger. And so the big ones for automation would be Python, VBA for Excel, other great languages, C# and JavaScript if you're ever interested in that.
Fantastic. That's really, really great. I think we've been touching on a little bit about low coding websites. I think it's, most people now, or maybe not most, but a lot of people are having to become familiar, especially entrepreneurs or maybe those who have lost their job. They want to start some personal branding and need their own website, tools to be able to be fully immersed in the market without relying on an employer. I don't know, what's your thoughts on where to start with low coding websites, and I think RPA is something that we were discussing being a big field. If you could walk us through that.
Yeah, so I guess first, low code websites. So websites like WordPress or platforms like WordPress, Shopify, Squarespace, and there's a few others that I'm probably forgetting. They're fantastic ways for entrepreneurs who are just starting out to get into business, because it only costs to host a website. So if you're using Shopify, $30 a month to start with Shopify, but you can build your own website without even having to write a line of code, just by drag and drop tool. So it's a really low barrier to entry. And then later on, when you need something much more powerful than what they can provide, even with all the plugins they have, then you can hire web developers and get fully custom websites built if you need it. As for RPA, so RPA is very similar in the sense that it's low code, no code, so you don't need to know how to program to use these type of tools. And these tools are for automation. So if you're familiar with UiPath or Automation Anywhere or Blue Prism, or some of the big three companies that develop these tools, you as just a normal, non-technical person can go in, use their tools to to drag and drop workflows, and essentially tell the program itself how to automate certain tasks, whether it's online, Excel, or whatever it is, and it'll it'll compile it to code for you and do all the work for you. So you just have to tell it what to do. Those solutions get pretty expensive. Usually businesses that are using that are at a minimum spending $50,000 a year on them. So if you're a smaller business, there are other, automation tools, like Zapier is one. I know you've talked about how you use Zapier. It's a really good tool to use for automation for small businesses. And there's plenty others. Otherwise, if you're willing to learn a little bit of programming yourself, you can automate your own work that way.
Fantastic. I think definitely even in larger organizations now, obviously I myself am an entrepreneur and not by any means a large organization, but it's starting to become a trend. And I think it really shows that we need to be upskilling so many different people. But unless you're self-taught or you're seeking these types of education and things, self-exploration, you're never going to be shown anywhere. These organizations don't run workshops or programs or in-house training programs. So I think maybe that's even what might eventuate in terms of the job market, having these workflow consultants or even software developers come in to be able to show people within bigger companies. I don't know. This is just my thoughts to the way that the job market might be going towards. I don't know. Have you seen any trends in terms of whether it's workflows or programs or new skill sets that might be required more frequently or more common?
So yeah, as far as automation, RPA is growing rapidly. I think it's set to double in the next 5 years. Currently, if I'm remembering the numbers correctly, it's a $22 billion industry right now. So it's still very small in terms of, relative to other industries, but it's growing rapidly. There's a lot more large organizations that are looking to RPA and how they can make their workflows more efficient. And then you have smaller businesses that are really starting to get into RPA or into automation lately. And so if you're either looking to be in that field as a consultant, that's a really good field to get into now because it's growing rapidly, but also as just, if you're a data analyst or if you're just, business analyst, whatever your job might be, even if you're not in a technical role, it may be very beneficial for you to either learn those tools or learn how to program yourself, because those are going to give you a huge lead on others in your field, especially with everything that's going on right now and how hiring has been affected. Knowing how to provide more value to the business that you're going to be working for is going to be vital. And so I think automation is a fantastic way to get that value out of it.
Yeah, fantastic. I think the end user now are demanding more. Like our needs, requests, and wants are so much more than what they were even probably 1 year ago. I think it's so hard to be making sure you're keeping up with the trends and being fully aware of what's available. And I don't know, do you have any recommendations? So even, for example, me as a small business owner or an entrepreneur or someone in a larger organization, how they could keep up with what's happening in the world? Like, is there subscription magazines, or is there alerts to be set, or how do we know, where do we find the updates?
Oh, that's really tough, because it's still a small industry. It's still a little niche, so it's hard to kind of get into it if you don't know about it. But, following companies like Automation Anywhere or Blue Prism, or even, Microsoft has their own automation tools that they're building. Amazon has their own automation tools that they're building. Just following these companies is going to, allow you to keep much more up to date with these trends. But it'll also give you, it'll kind of shine a light on the resources that you can use to learn about it. I don't really know if any good like websites sources that you can actually go to find out. Yeah, I'm not familiar with any. I get all my information from just reading about big companies. I just search them up every couple days and see what's going on.
Okay, cool. And do you offer workshops, or do you do any coaching or consultation services, or even small group classes for people, or just something you're looking into in the future, or I don't know?
So we don't do any workshops right now, and we do plan on doing some webinars on it. And I do have some video content that we're going to be putting on my business's YouTube channel for automation. Something that everybody can kind of get into. But we do provide consulting on how you can start automating your business, or how you can get into automation and start introducing those kind of principles into all the work that you do at whatever employer you're working at. So we only work business to business. So when we come in, we're going to be working with the managers to kind of train their employees on how to use certain tools, or how to upkeep them, while also maybe developing those tools for them as well.
Awesome. I just want to come back on automation again. Could you maybe walk us through, and maybe it's just maybe me being naive, I'm not sure, but I'm sure there's people out there that, could you explain further in terms of what can be automated? So for example, spreadsheets to emails, or what types of workflows specifically can be automated?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I can give one example. It's my favorite example to give. So I was working with a sales company, and they had a few teams of a few sales teams, and the team leaders at the time, they were working with real estate agents, or getting real estate agent leads. And so the team leaders every 1 to 2 weeks would go on to like realtor.com or Zillow.com, which are American real estate websites. And they would go to the realtor section, and they would get the name and the phone number, and then they would give it to their sales team to call. So doing that every 1 to 2 weeks took about 20 hours of the sales leaders' times to go through and put them all into, it was a Google spreadsheet. And so, we went in and we looked at what they were doing, and instead of having them manually collect it, we built a bot that would go and scrape that information for the websites for them, and then put it into into their own CRM tool. That way, they weren't actually going and getting the leads. All they had to do was just say where they wanted the leads from. So they would say they wanted from Las Vegas, Nevada, or New York, and then the tool would get it for them. So it took down 20 hours of work, to just a few minutes. And that's an extreme example. That's we're going very manual to very automated. But you can find plenty of examples like that in the workplace. There's a lot that can be done with Excel automation. A lot of people are, just copying an Excel spreadsheet to make a new one and then editing the data. You can automate all that. You don't need to do any of that. Reporting tools. So like if you're doing audits, you can automate auditing. So if say you're a shipping company, and you are putting you're putting out invoices for things, and an automated tool may catch a mistake, alert a manager or whoever employee is in charge of that, put it into a reporting system so they know why it happened. That way people don't have to manually try to find it. It's all automated.
Wow. It's really, really cool. I think the world seems to be, or data, once you've got data, that's the key thing, I guess, or the fundamental process to be able to get these workflows to be happening. And even just simple, like the very basics of email collections, for lead generation forms. I think if we don't have these types of flows and automations in place, then it's so difficult as a business to be able to grow and scale your business, let alone fixing problems and auditing. So I think like the aspects are so varied of all the benefits that it comes with. And yeah, it's really nice to be able to speak and hear about these types of things, because you get stuck in your own little world, and you just think what you're doing is the only way. So yeah, it's really nice to hear. I don't know, do you have any tips or your best piece of advice if people want to get started, to start with automation or low coding websites or basic software development for those entrepreneurs or job seekers, perhaps who are transitioning into this role, since it's a new emerging, in demand?
Yeah. So I would say, as far as automation, The biggest piece of advice I can give is don't think that it's easy. It takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time to prepare to make sure you're doing it right. And the biggest thing is make sure that the processes that you're using in the first place are already good. Like, so if you try to automate something that doesn't need to be automated in the first place because you shouldn't be doing it that way anyway, then you're not really gaining anything of value. You should make sure that your business is set up the way it should be before you automate. It's the last step you should take.
Yes.
And then as far as just general software development, it's just something that it takes time to learn. It takes a lot of money to pay someone to do. But before you get started on anything software related, make sure that you have everything that you want mapped out, and you understand the pitfalls of what you're doing and the advantages of what you're doing. Because often when I work with someone, they think that any kind of software is going to be a magic bullet for them, and what ends up happening is that the software ends up introducing more problems than they thought it would, and makes it not worth it to do in the first place. And so, making sure those issues are ironed out in the first place is really important.
Yeah, it's really valuable advice. I think people, this is something that they don't do. They think that what they will put into place will fix everything, but really maybe from essence, there's a problem from the very beginning. So I think you've really hit the nail on the head. And maybe this is where you can seek consultation services to come in and do a complete independent review to be able to assist you and provide you with the right direction. So yeah, I think you're really in the right work streams for people. So how would my audience be able to get a hold of you if they were interested in having your support to help them?
Yeah, so our website is RoseberryPi.com, and that's Pi, P-I. I'm sure there'll be a link in the bottom or something. But you also can send us an email at hello@RoseberryPi.com. That's probably the quickest way to get a response. We normally respond within 12 hours if it's a business day. Yeah, and then I'm on LinkedIn as well. So, send me a message, add me, and then we can talk.
Amazing. Sounds really good. I will make sure that I tag you and put your contact details in the bottom, because I'll upload it to my YouTube so people can follow you there. And in final closing, is there anything that you would like to say? And we will say goodbye from there. I'll leave the closing remarks for you.
Yeah, so I guess I'll talk to your audience real quick. So, everything that's going on is really crazy right now. I hope that, some of the skills for software development might kind of strike a nerve with you, and maybe you can learn and get an advantage when you're looking for your next job, because you don't have to be a fully fledged software developer to be effective with programming in a non-technical role. So just kind of take a look at it and learn a little bit about it and see how it can help you and how it can help you be better at what you do, and hopefully it'll help you get a job if you're out of work, or get a better job if you're in work right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, William.